am now recording. Can everyone give me a thumbs up? Can you see my face? I don't know if you can all see me. Great. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the virtual magic experience and some thoughts that I have and some ways that it's worked for us. And then I'd love to be able to field some questions. So before this whole thing got started, before I was doing any virtual magic shows, I was on a virtual co-working call. And a co-working call is where everybody gets on a Zoom call, mutes their mics, and does work. And you all keep each other accountable. So I was on a friend of mine's virtual co-working call. And they weren't magicians. And one of them asked me to do a trick for everybody who was there. So I said, okay. And I did, and I don't know if you know the trick. The trick is Dennis Bear's brute force opener. But I'll just describe it because you're all magicians. And to describe it very quickly, I pull out any card from the deck. It goes back in the middle. I turn over a card on top. I say, this is the ace of spades. This is not your card. It's mine. I put it face down. I went like this so they could see the card over here. I waved my hand, and then it changed into the card that they had picked. The 6 people that were on the call went bananas. They went bananas. We were on a Zoom call like this with 6 people, and they went bananas. And I was really, 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 really surprised when that happened because I thought that they would suspect that I was up to so much trickery because like the card went off camera and then I had to go like this to bring it down, right? And they didn't even, and that's not how I did any of the trickery. I did it using like normal magic methods, but nobody thought that at all. I was blown away that they enjoyed it. And everyone's, unlike now where everyone is muted except for me, everyone's volume was on. So I heard everyone react all at the exact same time to this happening. And the epiphany aha moment was, oh man, this really is kind of similar to performing for a group of people. There really is some similarities between this and performing for a just like a small group of people, except this also has a few benefits. So one of the cool benefits is that the camera is every single person has a front row seat. So when I look at the camera, I'm looking at you. No matter who you are, I'm looking at you. And when you're performing in the real world, that's not the case. If you look, the people in the front are sometimes getting a much better show than the people that are sitting in the back. And maybe the people in the front are you're looking at them more, you're selecting them more. That's one thing. In a Zoom show or a Zoom performance, that's not the case. Another thing that I really, really like is that there's only 2 places to look. There's the magic and there's them, right? So yes, you do lose some ability to do traditional misdirection, but the ability to hold someone's attention, draw focus to the magic, and then draw back to their attention is real easy because there's only one point of attention. It is just the dot right here. So those are some advantages that I have found. And the last advantage that blew my mind, which came in that call, was I was calling on someone to say stop to pick a card, and I hovered my mouse over the Zoom screen. And if you guys want to try it right now just to see what happens, but when you hover your mouse over, you see every single person's name. So it was wildly easy for me to go, hey, Harry, can you do this? Hey, David, can you do this? Hey, and that made the interactivity of it in some ways better than in person. Because in person, you have to go, excuse me, what's your name? Greg. Greg, will you come up on the stage? Okay, everyone clap for Greg. Okay, here is Greg. Okay, Greg, da-da-da. In here, I don't have to do that. All I have to say is, Cody, unmute your mic and name a number between 1 and 10. And now, not only does everyone feel like they're sitting in this front row, I can pick on anyone at any time, but everyone gets a chance to interact because I'm calling on them specifically. I don't have to ask their name. I don't have to ask them to come on stage. I don't have to wait for anything like that. So that right off the bat are some really cool benefits that I've found in virtual shows. And yes, I know it's not the same. I love live magic. I miss live magic. I know it's not the same. But I think that is part of the awesome aspect of virtual magic. And I think instead of trying to duplicate a real life show virtually, We have to figure out what it takes to make magic that is good in the virtual realm. And all of the people that threw their arms up in the air about the problems with virtual magic show, I can 100% attest, are all the people that envisioned virtual magic show, meaning your magic show just in your house against your back wall in your bedroom. Those are the people that were not excited or were maybe feeling negative about virtual magic shows because they didn't think about this leaning in. So now I'll tell you about some of the things that we lean into that's really great. The first thing we lean into is interactivity. Like we were talking about before we pressed record on this call, the more people can be a part of the magic that's going on, that's what people are looking to do right now. They want to be a part of something. They want to interact with something. So instead of showing them the tricks where they watch you do a trick, you want to interact with them. Name a card, name a number, say stop. Do you want this one or this one? Really critical. People want to play along. Even as simple as a trick of the invisible deck is a perfect example of a trick where the result of the trick happening to you at home is changed based on what it is that they're saying at home. And already that the invisible deck is a better trick to do than like an ace assembly where they have no involvement at all and they just watch you. Because in that case, they should just Google ace assembly. But if they don't want to do that, if they want to watch you, they want to participate, you should have things for them to participate in. So one way to do that is a trick that the result changes based on what they're doing. Another way to do something for them to participate in is for them to bring props to the event. So if you know there's self-working tricks, and an easy one for me to give you an example of is where you put the two paper clips on the bill and you pull the bill and the paper clips link together. I don't know if people know this one. Or the other thing where you fold the bill and now it smiles and it frowns. And there's different things you can do ranging from things that are mind-blowing to things that are silly and fun and cute that people can do in their own hands following along with you, which again leads into the interactivity and also leads into the excitement about the event. Hey, you have to remember to bring the paper clips and the bill for the magic show because otherwise the magic won't work. That is really exciting thing for somebody. And Mark, right here in the group, Mark Wicken, up at the top, I guess he's in the top on my screen. I don't know where he is in yours. But he did something really fun where he sent out 4 cards in the mail to the people that he was going to do the trick to for them to use those cards specifically. So think about how excited those people are for the magic show, that they're holding cards that like, these are the cards that the magic is going to happen with. I have no idea what that means. I'm so excited. I'm on the edge of my seat. So really good about leaning into the interactivity. That's another way to do it. I have 2 questions that came in from Scott. The first question is, what about when you're performing for a single group huddled around one computer screen? There's many awesome things about that. Number one, you can have them each bring the props. So it happens, it works for all of them, and they get to look at each other and react and say, wow, it worked for me, it worked for you, amazing. You can have them all do the thing together with the props. And also with the tricks that you're doing, you can have them interact with each other. One thing that I do is I have people bring cards to the show. So if I look and there's multiple people on the screen, I'll have one of the people spread and have another one of them pick a card. And then they show the card to me. And then I do a trick with what that card is. So that's a simple way that I'm able to interact with a lot of people. The other question that came in from Scott is, how soon in advance do you give audience heads up for what to bring? As soon as they book the show. When they book the show, I tell them that they need to tell all the attendees what it is that they want to bring. Another question came in from James, who said, could you talk about any lessons you have learned from openers and closers? Is there anything that feels different for the show? I think it's the same sort of advice as a regular magic show where you want to showcase a little bit about yourself. You want it to be entertaining really quickly right off the bat. But I think, again, the thing you want to lean into and do with this is lean into the involvement. You want them to participate. As quickly right off the bat, you want them to be a part of the show. And the last main thing I just want to talk about here is platform. Many of the people that are struggling with doing virtual shows, and I say this because I've watched many virtual shows, are the people who are performing for nobody in an empty room for nobody. And when there's, let's say on Facebook Live, when I tell a joke and in the end of my joke, I don't see anyone laugh, I don't see anyone smile, and I don't see anyone move because I'm talking to myself on a screen, that is very, very challenging for people who are professionally live performers, live entertainers. That is a real kick in the pants for live entertainers. For people that are really good at YouTube, at like performing for a camera, they're not phased at all. But for many of us here, and I know many of the people in this group who are live entertainers, who all of the magic they do are live for real people, to not hear reactions after you perform is really, really critical. So that's why doing the show on Zoom for me, instead of doing it on Facebook Live or on Instagram Live or on something like that, where I can actually see people's faces, to me, is the deciding factor for what makes a virtual magic show fun and what makes a virtual magic show a complete and utter drag. So I think using something like Zoom is critical. I pay for the Zoom Pro plan. It's like $20 a month. There's other platforms that aren't Zoom that you can do it on. You can do it on like Google Hangouts. You can do it on like Skype. There's loads of different ways. I like the Zoom interface. It's pretty cool. I was using it for meetings before everyone is using it now, so I was a little bit more comfortable with it. But it's a great platform. That's an easy way to do it. So I think being able to see people's faces is really, really critical. You can also do it where, you know, there's a button on Zoom where I can mute or unmute all. So one thing that we do is I mute all for the performance. And when I'm doing the performance, I don't hear anybody. I don't hear their crackling. I don't hear their laughing. If one of them is like, the ball is stuck to the bottom of the top of the cup, like I don't hear them saying that. I don't hear any of the things that they're saying when they're at home. And then if I want, after I've done it, I can unmute everybody, or I can just say, Becky, unmute yourself and do this. Sam, unmute yourself and do this. And even if I don't hear their reactions, which is really great, I can see their reactions in my face and I know that they're having a good time, and it allows me to know if my jokes are funny and if my tricks are actually working. I have two other questions that came in right here. And by the way, if you have questions, prepare them right now. I have two little other things to talk about, and then I'm just going to take some questions. So the two questions, Bill said, my most important question I would like answered has to do with how to know or set up so the only people that pay join the link. How do you set Zoom so the people that pay a fee and only the household gets access? You send them a link. So the same way you got a link to this call, you say, what happens if they share it? So Bill is saying, what happens if you give someone a link for the call and they share it? Yeah, what happens? I don't have a good answer for you. Like, they don't do it. If someone is hiring you for their event.
Well, you might see that person.
Sorry, I don't know where who started speaking.
Wouldn't you see that person and know he's not on the list of email?
Yeah. You would see them on the Zoom call. Like if someone invited more people, you would see them on the Zoom call. And also like someone is hiring you. So I haven't found anybody say like, I'm going to hire you for my event and like jokes, I'm going to invite 1,000 people. Like it doesn't happen. Zoom, like this program caps out at 100. And also I'm open with the people that hire me. I say like, you can bring 5 people or you can bring 60 people. But if you bring 5, then it's going to be really, really interactive. And if you bring 60, it's only going to be kind of interactive. And I'll be honest with them. When I sell the experience, I tell them that if there's less people, it's more interactive. So they're not pulling a fast one on me by inviting another person. I've already told them that I don't care how many people come. It's a private room. Hopefully that answers your question. The next one comes from Willie. Okay, he said that. Oh yeah, Willie, that's another answer, is you can give it a password. So you can make it so that they have a password. Is there a show length sweet spot? Another question from James. I don't know. You got to keep experimenting. For us, we think an hour is really long for people to be sitting at their computer interacting. So we're doing things that are closer to 25 minutes or 45 or 50 minutes for longer packages and for things that are more interactive, but we're playing with shorter stuff and just more interactivity and more fun. So if you have any other questions, please pass them along. The last thing I will mention is 2 little Zoom hacks. So the first Zoom hack is And I already told you one, which is that you can mute all, which is amazing. Another amazing Zoom hack is that you can share your screen, which means you can play a video of anything that you want for the people that are watching. And you can play a video while you go prepare something. So whether you use that or not, it's just interesting that you can have a segment which you can cut away to and say, okay, everyone, here, go watch this video, and play any footage that you have while you prepare something else. That's tip number one. And tip number two, and this is my favorite, and I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to try to do it right now so you guys can see. And anybody who has been on a Zoom call with me recently knows that I do this because I think this is hysterical. I don't know if you guys are ready. Here we go. I don't know. Can you guys hear the music? Yeah. So, I mean, it's silly. I stopped and I turned it off. But the point is, you can actually do interesting things like have music at your show. One of the things that we do is I play show music when people are joining the Zoom call. So that way I don't have to do the awkward like, hi, we're waiting for 6 other people, but hi, do you like magic? Hi, come on in. I don't do that. My mic is on mute. We have a little sign that says show starting in 5 that's sitting there. And then I have pre-show music that's playing. And I can change the volume of the pre-show music. So with just those tools already, you see that you can make an experience that is really fun and is really exciting. And what I have found is many of the magicians who are running right now to up the production of the Zoom shows are missing out on the doing of the Zoom shows. And here's what I mean by that. Do your best. Shine a light. If you have a nice camera that can plug it in. If you have a nice background, make the background look as nice as you can. But what people are hoping for is interactivity. They're hoping to have fun with you. They're hoping to be a part of something with you. I don't think you need a 4K camera. 1080p camera is fine. This is my computer lens. I have a webcam, but I don't use it because this is just as good and it's fine. So I would say don't over stress about the tech. Scott just said to me, what camera do you use? Scott, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Do the show. And the last thing I'll say, and then I'll just take straight questions until we wrap this up. The last thing I'll say is lean into interactivity. People want to be a part of something. They don't just want to watch something. People want to have fun together with the people they're sitting in a room with the people they're in a Zoom room with. If someone is hiring you for a virtual event, maybe it's for someone's birthday, maybe it's for a community or a company. It's for people that want to have fun together with each other. So lean into those things, and that is what's really going to make it succeed. I'm going to start answering some questions here. Jasper asked, hi Jasper, good to see you. I miss you. He said, do you think Zoom is better than Facebook Live for promoting? I don't know about for promoting, but for actually doing it, I think it's much better. I explained a little bit earlier why. If you join too late, you'll get the email for the replay and you can listen back and explain why. But just, I can hear and see people's reaction. Cody said, I've got 1 or 2 library clients insisting on video recorded shows / live stream instead of Zoom. Do you have any tips on how to make those kind of shows the best they possibly can? Cody, I'm in the same situation. Other people have insisted on not doing this Zoom show. Yes, there are ways to do it. The way to do it is you have to, if you're doing interactive magic, you have to speak much, much clearer because you cannot see them doing it. So if you're doing a trick with them, let's say a 5-card trick. Okay, move the card here. You want to show it very clearly. You want to tell people, comment in the chat. Give me type the letter S in the chat if you've done this, right? And you tell them, and that way you're getting visual cues from people in the chat that they're following along step by step. The other thing that I would do is get someone in the chat to speak up and then pick them. So for example, I could say in the chat right now, I'm not going to, so don't run to do this, but I could say the first one to type the letters JJJ in the chat is going to be the person I use for this. So then everyone runs and goes, JJJ, and then they press enter, and then I see and I go, okay, it's you, Frank. Frank, you're going to be the one I choose. Okay, nobody but Frank's answers matter. Frank, say the name of any card. So now it's still interactive, but they're not speaking, they're messaging it in the chat. But it's important that you, and this is the lesson here, it's important that you pick the person who you're going to get the information from, because otherwise the magic looks bad. So the example is, I have a card in my hand, name any card. And then 25 cards come up in the chat. And then I go, 7 of hearts? Okay, great. And it's stupid because people think he just looked for the person who typed 7 of hearts. So you need to be specific about, okay, Bill, you're going to be the person, you name the card, and then that's what I'm going to do. So that's one tip that I have if you're in that situation. Hopefully that helps for you. Jasper, another question. What do you think about Insta Live since you can invite from chat? I think that's a great way to do that. If you're doing Instagram or Facebook Live, to invite someone to be on the chat with you so that you can do the magic to them and with them and see their reactions is an awesome workaround if you're using Live. Harrison, I'll get to you in a sec. Harrison has some tips and I'd love to hear them because he's pretty savvy. David said, can you share some tricks you've performed that you think got great reactions? I can, but I don't know how much that will serve you. Many of the tricks that I do are just rejigged tricks that I've done in the real world before. Like I do my any card and any number by picking a person to name a card and picking a person to name a number. I do, you can do an ambitious card routine that people are interacting with and paying attention to. Anything that is interactive, any self-working trick, pick up the Carl Fold self-working magic, get Juan Tamari's verbal magic. Like there's so many resources for easy, simple self-working tricks that work. Do that to do with stuff inside people's hands. I can give you examples of tricks, but I don't think you need it. Like you just want stuff that people can be a part of. And I think most of the tricks you'll find work. Unless they have to count it or something in their hand, you'll find many, many, many tricks work. 2 other questions. Bill says, do you think spectators should have their screens to gallery view or speaker view, which is better for enjoying the magic? I force the spotlight of myself. So people can switch it to speaker view, but I hit the button that says spotlight me and I spotlight myself. But if someone is doing something with me, so if I say, hey, Ryan, you're going to name any card, I might spotlight Ryan so that people can see him thinking and playing and having fun. I'm trying to, some messages are jumping around, so give me a sec. So live speaker view. Okay, Ryan says, how do you determine how much to charge for a virtual show? It is a tough call. The answer that you don't want to hear, but is the real answer, is it depends on the industry, right? So it depends on the industry. If you're doing a college show for 3,000 college students virtually, I'm sure it's going to pay very well, right? They have the budget to pay for that kind of thing. If you're doing a virtual birthday party, it'll probably be the same, if not less, than what a regular birthday party might go for. So what I would say is try to overvalue it. So try to put everything you can to do in it. And a simple strategy to test out pricing is to price different packages. Pick a really cheap thing that you can offer them, pick a really medium thing, and pick a really expensive thing. And offer all 3 of them in an email. And when people inquire to you, you will really start quickly finding out, if you talk to them on the phone or on an email or whatever, it'll quickly become clear which of those things they have the budget for, what kind of budgets the people in your market has, and also which of the things that you offer people want the most and that they're really, really excited by. So that's a good way to figure out, because it really depends on the market. Cody says, for Scott, I've been using a phone app called Epoch Cam that gives my phone camera webcam capabilities. It's $8, but on par with most dedicated webcams. There are many different cameras that you can use. Like I said, this is the camera on my computer. The one on my phone is equivalently as fine. None of them are great. They all just do the job. And the job is for me to interact with people, for them to hear me and be able to see me. And I'm not stressing about that for me, for the tools. Cody says, make sure to connect your charger to your computer so it doesn't cut out mid-show. That is really, really, really critical. That is great advice. If anybody has other questions, please post it in the chat. I'm going to pass over right now to Harrison if you want to unmute yourself. I think Harrison had an answer to the question about not having someone interacting live on Zoom. Is that right, Harrison?
Oh, no. I just have, what my thoughts are on this whole thing and all the
Sure.
things really quickly.
You can go ahead.
Yeah. So, are you guys seeing me on the camera now or no?
Here, I can spotlight you. Give me a sec.
You don't have to spotlight me. I'm just wondering.
Bam, now you're spotlight.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, the first thing is keyboard shortcuts. So if you go into preferences in your Zoom, I have it set so command up is unmute all, command down is mute all, command right is switch between gallery view and speaker view, and command left is to jump between pages of people in gallery view. So say I'm about to do like an any card, any number, just like Jonah. The way I'm doing it right now is I'm having someone at their house shuffle a deck, take a card, put their hand on it. I'll spotlight them, mute everybody else, say, great, John, shuffle your cards. I want you to reach in and grab one out and put it face down on the table. Put your hand on top of it. Everybody else is muted except for him. Then I bring the camera over to someone else, like say a girl, and I'll have her be also unmuted. So now it's John and Susie both unmuted, and Susie's holding like a certain amount of coins. So it's something like physical, and that's going to be the number for the any card, any number. Then they're both unmuted, and everybody has seen both of them, so they've made an emotional connection to them. They've gotten to see them interact with me. Then the camera comes back to me. I spotlight myself, or cancel the spotlight on whoever, and it comes back to me. And then I, take my deck and I make my prediction and put it in the box for the Aussie thing. And then you can hear them and you already know what position they're in. One has coins and one has a card. And I say, now, John, you have a card under your hand. For the first time, name out loud the card, 4 of diamonds. And Susie, how many coins do you have? 42 coins. Perfect. I don't have to do anything. And so then everybody has experienced the same thing together. They all know what's going on. They've heard those two people, but I haven't lost anything by going to them because I've come back to me before the actual trick has started. So that's the first thing. Shortcuts, really important. Then mute, unmute. What I find is that if you have more than like 15 people and there's any kids, you pretty much have to just like mute because they just like can't control themselves. But with adults, more than 15 people, you pretty much have to mute everybody unless like everybody has the quietest room ever. I've tried to like do things where I'll like unmute everybody at the last second, but the issue is yeah, you might get like a reaction, but Zoom's what Zoom's job is trying to figure out who's talking. So it never sounds good. It doesn't sound like a bunch of people going crazy. It sounds like the Zoom algorithm trying to decide who the fuck they should show. So it almost never sounds good, applause. What I found is using the chat. So like when I do like corporate events with this Zoom thing, I'll open the chat so that they can talk to each other. If I do any kids shows or anything like that, I do not let anybody talk to anybody. They can only communicate with me and I can communicate with everybody. But with corporate shows, I usually say, guys, there's 60 of you here. If you're enjoying yourself, let everybody know in the chat. You can react in there if you want to. Sometimes you're getting fucking roasted in there. Like I fucking did one show and like I was reading the chat afterwards and they're like, this guy owns that WikiCount website, like fucking roasting me in the chat, which is, that's good. You're learning what works and what doesn't work. But yeah, use the chat to allow adults to recognize that other adults are enjoying the show when you're in a large Zoom show.
I love it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And then so as far as speaker view and gallery view, I tell people always be in speaker view. They should always be looking at either me or whoever I want them to look at. If they're looking at a bunch of people on a screen, it doesn't help them at all. For me, the only thing that I use the bunch of people on a screen for is if I don't want to like put anybody on the spot, which I do a lot and maybe is not the smartest thing, I'll just like spotlight someone, which maybe is not the nicest thing depending on the circumstances, I'll say, hey, if you wanna get on this, just give it a wave on the screen like this. And I'm in gallery view, so I see who's waving, and then I can immediately jump over and spotlight that person. And that way I'm getting someone who wants to be involved. As far as tricks that you can do on Zoom that work really well from Verbal Magic, there's a trick called Heads Up on page 95 that is just with quarters. I don't get the best reactions out of it. I'm not Juan Tamariz, but it's basically where everybody has coins at their own house and they're turning over the coins and they turn them over different amounts and everybody ends up with their coin heads up. It fooled me the first time I saw it. But again, I haven't gotten the strongest reactions out of it, but I've done it maybe 5 or 6 times. Obviously, the Woody Aragon trick with the ripping the cards, that's great, but you have to make sure that they don't not ripping their own deck. That is only the only deck they had. And then the 9 card spelling trick.
Yep.
You can really fuck up a bunch of people with that. If you're just like, so what I'll do is, this is not quite my background. Usually I'm like, I have a light, but I'll like tilt this down like this, and I'll get the pad right here, and everything's obviously clean. There's nothing behind me. I work with a very clean background. And I'll just like completely tip myself out of frame. And I'll say, great, take 9 cards and deal 3 piles of 3, just like this, right? And so you know the 9 card spelling trick, right, Jonah?
Yeah, I say maybe don't go through the whole thing now.
No, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But I'll just have them, I'll basically show it like this. And then I'll have them like look and drop and drop.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
great.
they don't realize it's third necessarily. And you go from there. But I basically lay it out so clear here that I don't have to worry about what anybody's doing because I was so clear that if they messed it up, it was because
I love it. Those are some killer tips. And the one that I am really going to use immediately, which I love, is the shortcut keys. Because I'm doing so many Zoom, I'm going to sneeze, hold on. So many Zoom shows and Zoom experiences where I have to mute and I have to do all this. And I'm lucky because when I do them, I'm doing them with Ben, who's my roommate and my business partner. So we sit here doing them together. So if one of us is doing the trick, the other one is on the 1s and 2s, muting and unmuting and stuff. But David Martinez posted a little thing in the chat, which I thought was really great. And it's true, which is you can have the person who hired you act as the director and the one on the 1s and 2s muting and unmuting people for you. I like to have the ability to do it myself, but if you've got a wily group, I've had the director do it as well, which is great. A question from Jasper, which came in earlier. And I really like this question, even though it's a little bit different, but he said that some magicians get their fuel from performing magic, and now they can't do that. What is your advice for magicians who are losing passion and how to reignite it while all this craziness is going on? My short answer is perform Zoom shows. I know that sounds silly, and I'm not even telling you to charge money for it. Do it for free. But to have people live like this, where you do magic, and if you haven't muted their mics, you can see them enjoying themselves. You can see them laughing and having a good time. And for me, I know it's not the exact same as live Oh, here, sorry, I have the wrong person spotlighted. There, it's back to me. Even though it's not the exact same as live magic, people still get an incredible experience. They laugh. And I honestly still get the joy of giving people the gift of doing magic. I can see it in their face. I can see they still enjoy it. So what's my answer is I don't have an answer for how somebody who loves performing can be reignited with magic when they can't perform. I don't have a good answer, but my answer is perform. And the way that I'm telling you to perform feels actually pretty good for the magician. For them too, but for the magician. So I hope you try it out in a little Zoom call, even with 3 people or 4 people or something. And I think, and I'm looking forward, Jasper, because I know you specifically, I'm looking forward to the message that you send me in 4 days that says, hey, I did a Zoom call and I had so much fun and I want to do another one. So I'm looking forward to that. And by the way, let me be clear, to even answer this question, I'm not talking about asking people to pay you money. Just post on Facebook, hey, I need 5 people for a fun magic experiment. Starts at 6 p.m. Only taking 5 people. You're not allowed to be a magician. And just get 5 people that say I'm in and then have a fun time with them. And I think you'll have a blast. Okay, the next question from Bill. Any advice for getting good attendance to a public show, price-wise and target advertising? I don't yet, because I'm not yet putting on public virtual shows, but I will be soon and I will have advice soon. But my hunch is lots of people will come if it's really, really cheap. That's my hunch. That's my hunch. I think it's going to be quite hard to get people to pay high ticket prices for virtual shows as like a ticket price. But it's just a hunch, and I'm right now in the space of learning about what works and what doesn't work for like ticketed virtual shows. Okay, other questions here. Attendance. Willie says, do the keyboard shortcuts work on Mac? I believe yes. Jasper said, thank you for answering that. For me, is $5 good? Jasper, I wouldn't charge for what you're talking about. To have a few people come join you, to have some fun, people that are in your friend list or whatever, to have 5 or 6 people come join you. You asked me about how to have the joy back in Magic. Don't charge money. Just have 5 people and go have a good time with them. I promise you'll be invigorated and excited about making new exciting Magic. That's my feeling. James said, I've been part of a ton of variety show with pay what you can. The suggested donation has been paying off really well. I've been seeing that happening a lot. Pay what you can model, like a donation button. It's been very hard to see how well it's been working. So I don't know with everyone how well it's been working, but I know with the Chicago Magic Lounge, they've been doing it and it's been working very well. And they kept doing, they're still doing it. So worth giving a shot. And we're going to be doing some sort of regularly occurring live virtual shows with the Toronto Magic Company, but we're working out the details of what that is right now to make sure that, like everything we do, it's special and that we're really, really proud of it. Jasper said, oh, I meant for the pro. The other question, what is cheap? Thanks. I'm not really sure I know what you're talking about. Harry says, a friend gave me a suggestion on charging per login, no matter how many people are on each login. Yeah, that's great. I do it even easier than that, Harry. I don't charge per login. I just charge for the show. So I like if someone's booking me for their team or whatever, it's X amount of dollars for the show, and you invite whoever it is that you want on your team. And I'm very blunt with them, and I say, the more people that are on the call, the less interactive it is. The less people that are on the call, the more interactive it is, because there's more of you there for me to have fun with. So invite however many people you want, and I let them invite. I'd like to know in advance-ish how many people are there, but it doesn't really matter. Not the end of the world. If anybody has any other questions, post them in the chat. Now is the time. I'm here to answer any other questions. We're still having people join us, which is really fun. But if you have any questions about Virtual Magic Show, post it in the chat and let me know. And I'm here to answer anything that I can. And I hope just to maybe get to wrapping up, because I know we're nearing the end here. But I hope that whether paid or not, everybody here gives the virtual magic a shot. And specifically, I'm referring to the multi-video on a screen style. And whether that's Skype or Zoom or loads of different options. But that style has been really fun and rewarding for me because I've been able to watch people enjoy the magic up close and hear it. And it just really changes the whole experience. So I hope that everybody here goes out there and gives it a shot, pay or free or anything. Just give it a shot. It's a lot of fun, especially if you make it interactive magic. People will go bananas when the magic is actually happening inside their hands. Some questions coming in. Bill says, is anyone doing a show that we can join and watch? I don't know about live shows happening right now. Like I said, I'll give a quick shout out to Tim Hanning, who I know does paid shows, and Tim is amazing, and he's an epic kids performer. So he's worth checking out, and it'll be family friendly and awesome, and adults like his stuff because he's amazing. So I recommend Tim Hanning. Chris Pillsworth said Ken Scott is doing paid shows on Saturday. Ken Scott is awesome, worth checking out. Ian said, will we get to watch this video later? Yes, I'll send an email about this video being available for probably a few days or stuff on follow-up. If anybody else has videos they know are happening, magic shows they know are happening, you can post it in the chat right now. And if you have any other questions, now is the last moment before I sign off. But I guess I'll use this time before there's any other last questions to just say thank you all so much for joining me for this. This is really great. I love doing these fun webinars, and I love being able to see the faces of people that passionately care about the same kind of things that I do. So this is really wicked. I'll take any other questions that are coming up, and then I'll talk about one other thing before I get going. So Chris Pillsworth says, do you always tilt the camera down for the table or a full frame? So Chris, here is something that I've been doing a lot, which I really like. I'm just reorganizing my table. So I have my kitchen table. This is actually where I do the shows. And I have my kitchen table long ways so that I can do this. Bam. And with a little bit of a tilt, they can now see both my, and I usually don't have headphones in, so I don't have this limitation, but they can see both my hands and my face. And for me, my face is so critical because I make silly faces and I interact and, like this. So when I do the chop cup, for example, I do it on the virtual show and I pick people, I say, Greg, unmute yourself and tell us where's the ball, in my hand or under the cup. I do it just like that. And this is how I have it spaced. So they can see my face, they can see me talking, and they can also see what's going on over here. Sometimes I will bring something just down to here, but I personally do not like it. I do not like it. I think people staring at a table is just something doesn't make me feel good about it. So I like to have my face in the frame for as much as I can. Some other questions that came in. James said, on performance attire, what have you seen? My feeling is about authenticity. That's my word of the year right now. So you said on performance attire, I feel like if I wear a suit sitting in my house, it's not being authentic to what the situation is. So I dress up a little, but not a lot. I'll wear a dress shirt. I'll wear jeans. They're not going to catch a glimpse of my pajama pants or sweatpants, but I make sure the top half of me is presentable, but not overdressed, honestly. And I do think you have to kind of think about it a little bit because you're in your home. So someone pays $100 or $200 for you to do magic for their family. And you're sitting in your home wearing a tuxedo. It might feel weird. So I would say business casual or quarantine chic. That's the new name, quarantine chic. Performance attire, Cody says, to tag onto that, do you feel having a second close-up camera so you can still do close-up stuff effective, or should you aim towards having one camera? It's a great strategy to log on with your phone. Get a cheap $12 phone tripod from Amazon. And now you have two cameras, the one here and your phone. And you can have people looking at two screens, one to look at your face and one to look at your hands. You can reposition it and move it. There's lots of different ways to do it. And any innovation that you use is great. Anything that works for you is great. My bottom line is to not get bogged down by the tech, to not hold off on doing a show because you're concerned that you need a better camera or a better mic or anything like that or whatever. You don't. You can always do better by adding another camera, another lens, a better mic, better lighting. You can always do better, but don't get bogged down. So yes, Cody, that's a great idea. There's a lot of fun things you can do by logging into the Zoom call yourself twice, once on your phone and once on your computer, and using your phone for a second angle. I love that. Scott says, this has been great. Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of this. Rob said the same thing. This has been wonderful. Yes, Rob, I hope you do some fun free shows. Emad said hi to Chris. I don't know what's happening, but that's pretty cool. And then James said, my girlfriend is listening and says that you are great, Jonah. You are speaking the truth. She is a circus owner. Well, I am great and I am speaking the truth. So thank you for that. I'm going to tell you all about one other thing, and I am telling you all about this. And many of you are on the email newsletter right now, so many of you are getting some emails about this, but I'm just going to pass this on only because everybody here is kind of a go-getter motivated individual who's trying to reinvent during this time, or is at least thinking about it. So I am putting together a group of 8 magic business owners who are trying to kick butt in 2020 and reinvent themselves during the rest of the social isolation. So right now, this week, I am taking booking calls, private calls, one-on-one with magicians and giving them a little bit of feedback about business, to how to set their trajectory in the right place, to not only get stuff done that they're proud of when they look back at the social isolation time, but also to get stuff done that really impacts their magic business and moves things forward, so that when they look back at it, they're not just like, yes, I did a lot of good things with my time, but also, wow, look how much impact I made with my magic business. So I am going to post something in the chat right now. Here, everyone. And what I'm posting in the chat is the link to book a call with me. So if you think that you would benefit from being part of a private group of magician business owners who want to spend the next 8 weeks kicking butt in their magic business, reinventing and staying accountable, go on there and book a call with me. It's free. And even if you don't want to do it, but you just want to talk to me for a bit about your magic business, you can still book a call. I would love to talk to you. But if you think you have any interest in being a part of this group, and I'll be honest, we're going to work hard and we're going to kick butt. So if you want to be a part of this, schedule a call. I'd love to have you there. If not, I still love you. And sincerely from the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much for tuning into this and for being a part of this. I hope that you're able to put this stuff, just like the podcast episodes, I hope you're able to put this stuff into action and into reality and give it a whirl. And I realize now, when I started this, that I thought many of you were doing shows and wanted feedback, but I know now that many of you were thinking about it and feeling like you wanted to and wanting to, but not really knowing what was in place. So hopefully this answered some of the questions about the tools that you may or may not need. And much love for being here, sincerely. And I'm going to do one other silly thing, just because it's a habit that I'm in, which is I'm going to take a screenshot of all your little faces. You can give me a thumbs up if you're here, and then we can bam, amazing, done. Well, there we go.